Great for Benji, great for the West Tigers, and great for the faithful. Gus was thinking of them when Gutho was lining that one up at the death. And if you're a fan, you had every right to think this will sink us today, but not the case.
It'd be a cruel way to lose, wasn't it? But thankfully, he just hooked it a little bit wide. I thought West Tigers deserved to win the game. They were so brave today. I mean, even being down to 12 men at one stage, but they hardly had any ball at Parramatta's end of the field. Defended their hearts out. The first half was staggering how many times they defended their own line and turned the Eels away. Eels desperately missed their halfback, Mitchell Moses, which we said during the week would be the case, but they had enough ball to win 3 games, and all honours to the Tigers.
Especially where they had the ball. Like 20 or 30 tackles, at least inside the 20-metre zone. I agree. I think it indicated how much they'd missed Moses. And yeah, it's a game they should have won, Parramatta. A game that they really should have won. For me, the Tigers, I think when you look at the Tigers and you consider their coach, Benji Marshall, they wanted to on the back of their defence. I don't associate defence with Benji Marshall. It's not what he was known for when he was playing. Obviously, he's instilled that in his team as a coach, which I think is a really, really good thing. We know what an attacking weapon he was, and he's obviously given these kids a lot of confidence. But to win a game on the back of your defence, I think that's the most impressive thing for me about today's win for the Tigers. As Gus said, down to 12 men for 10 minutes, only conceded 2 points there. Parramatta blew a number of opportunities when they were down to 12 men. But to win a game on the back of defence, I think is really important.
Gus Gal mentioned the 10 minutes for Lachie Galvin for the hip drop. What will come of it?
I don't know. I found it to be very unfortunate for him. It's not your normal hip drop. It was close to the line and he just fell on the back of the legs there. But we throw everything into that's, you know, it's not the normal
not
hip
your normal hip drop?
No.
That's a definition of a hip drop.
He wasn't running anywhere.
That's a definition of a hip drop.
Oh, please. He wasn't running anywhere. He wasn't running anywhere. He didn't even have the ball.
That's the definition of a hip drop right there.
That is not the normal hip drop.
You're a Lachie Galvin fan, I understand that, but he will get charged for that.
I thought it was very unlucky. I thought it was very unlucky.
And it's a hip drop.
The player wasn't running anywhere.
He lost his feet and dropped his hip on the back of his legs. That's the definition of a hip drop.
I think what Gus is trying to say...
No, hang on.
That is not the normal way.
We haven't seen a situation where the player's almost standing still and a guy drops on him. I take his point on it, but he will get charged for it. It's a hip drop. But we haven't seen something of that nature before. It's normally going after a player, chasing him.
I thought he was very unlucky. Very unlucky.
Yeah, that's right. You're more than entitled to your opinion, but in my opinion, that's a hip drop. That's a definition of a hip drop. He dropped his hip on the back of his legs. Whether he's running or not, he dropped his hip on the back of his legs. It's a hip drop. He loses his own feet and drops his hip on the back of his legs.
And the Tigers knew straight away he was gone. No one complained at the Tigers. His face gave it away as well. Under the definition of a hip drop, I think Gal's right there, but it's not a traditional... We haven't seen...
That is not the normal way a hip drop is affected. That's not the normal way it happens.
But it's a hip drop.
Oh, well, you can say that if you like. I'm just saying I felt he was unlucky. He didn't intend to do that. He wasn't trying to do it. It just happened.
But we got more proof today, Gus, that he will be around for some time, Lachie Galvin.
Yeah, I said, you know, when he was first named, I said, we've been watching this kid on the horizon for a number of years. He's very, very special. You can see with the time and the confidence that he has in himself, he's had a hand in 2 tries today, crucial tries, defended really well. He's a class footballer. You know, sometimes an 18-year-old just comes along, they bring them up, and they just look like they've been there all their lives. You know, it's a long way to go in his career, and he's going to be challenged, but he's a real confidence and he's got plenty of game. This young Lachlan.
You have to remember, in the off-season, the manager knocked on the Tigers' door 3 or 4 times and said, I want a release. I want this kid out of here, because he felt like his path was going to be blocked following the signing of Jerome Luai. We had Aiden Caesar at the club, Sullivan, Latu Fainu. So they were looking for the exit doors. Now all of a sudden we're talking, he's the 6th or 7th or 6th long term. Jerome's on his way in, and they've got 2 or 3 halves need to figure out what to do with the West Tigers. And to be fair, the veteran in the number 7 jersey is doing an exceptional job, Aiden Caesar. He's been outstanding for a guy on, I think, $250,000 or $300,000. Aiden Caesar, the direction he's provided the West Tigers in the first few weeks, even the game he missed against Canberra, people assume that Jaden Sullivan was given first crack. It was actually on medical advice that he started on the bench, Aiden Caesar, because his hamstring wasn't quite right. So they started him on the bench thinking, get less minutes into him. So I don't know what they do next year. It's a good problem to have if you're Benji Marshall. What do you do? You have to sell.
It's a problem they haven't had for a long time.
Yep.
So how good is it for them? I mean, they've got a lot of young good players coming through. They've won a lot of junior grades over the past couple of years. You know, they're adding guys like Luai to the team next year. Well, what a problem to have for them. They've had a lot of tough years, the Tigers fans, and they can see some bright spots at the end of the day now. So Yeah, good luck to them. But he's a class player. The way he set up that last try, he took on, from all reports, it was his high school teammate and took him on one-on-one, fed him straight in the chest. It was a poor miss by Talangi by first-grade standards, to be honest, but he went straight through. And for me, it was the pass. He had one guy come from the side. Yeah. Obviously, Gutho come from the front. He managed to hold it up and around. Didn't let Gutho wrap the ball up and got a beautiful pass away. That was a special pass.
From the Tigers halves to the Eels halves, there was a bit of discussion leading into this match, Michael, that Mitch Pearce either made a call or received a call about perhaps making a comeback for Parramatta with no Moses there. What do we know about it?
Yeah, look, Mitchell Pearce didn't make a call. Mitchell Pearce hasn't trained in 4 or 5 months since retiring from the Cuddlelands at the end of the year. Now, from my understanding, there was approach made to the Eels from an agent in the game saying, would you be interested in Mitchell Pearce? That went back to the coaching staff and they were quizzed as to would you be interested, but nothing eventuated from it. This happens a lot in our game. Where managers will go to a club and say, are you interested in this guy, without actually checking if the player wants to play and try and go back to him with a deal saying, I've got you X amount at Parramatta, do you want to play? So there was nothing really in this Mitchell Pearce situation other than a few inquisitive player managers.
Think about how much pressure. There's always hype and pressure and talk around Parramatta. Paul Mitchell Pearce has had his whole career. He's just retired. He's enjoying life. Why would he want to come back? Yeah. Especially that club.
Well, I'll tell you what it highlights, though, a lack of depth in the halves of Parramatta. The decision to let Jake Arthur go last year, there was so much noise around Jake Arthur and having Brad there, and they've got no backup halves. Like, the young kid is obviously an exceptional player. He's going to be a superstar for that club, but to throw him into that arena at that age, and they've been playing in the centres for the last 12 months, it's a big ask for Blaze Talangi, and I think they probably haven't got some experience in that half-back role.
Parra going to be okay? Quick one from you, Gus, the Eels?
Yeah, they've got plenty of talent, but I said during the week that this would be crucial, Mitchell Moses not being there. There's so many facets to their game that rely on him especially, and they just couldn't fill that breach today. They weren't hopeless. I mean, they really tried hard. They weren't convincing with their attack, but they were really troubling the West Tigers. Probably should have scored 2 or 3 more tries. It was just desperation from the Tigers that kept themselves in the contest. So, you know, this competition's going to bounce around from week to week and month to month, and injuries and all that sort of. I can see a lot of teams beating each other along the way. I wouldn't be writing anyone off at the moment.
Okay.